Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about intervals of increase and decrease. Now, this is basically the same as when we talked about for quadratics. However, we're going to have more intervals. With quadratics, when we would have intervals, we'd have one interval of increase and one interval of decrease. Well, with polynomials greater than quadratics, like degree 3, degree 4, degree 5, and so on, we're going to have more intervals. But we're at least going to have one of each, okay? So let's talk about it. So we're going to do like we did before. We're going to label our left side negative infinity, and we're going to label the right side positive infinity, okay? Now, as we start at what is essentially at the top or the leftmost part of the graph, you notice that we're coming down. We're going down, we're going down, we're going down, and we're going to stop at this point on the x-axis, okay? So since that's decrease, we're going to say decrease here, okay? Then at this point, which is right here, and that's the this part right here, we're now going to continue going to the right to this point, okay? And again, we want this on the x-axis. So that's increase. So we're going to put an I there. Then next what happens is starting from this middle point, which is a relative maximum, we're now going to go down, 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 down to this point, which is our absolute minimum. And again, we want this point on the x-axis. And so that's going to be decreased, so we're going to put a D there. And then from this point right here, the last relative maximum, well, I'm sorry, relative maximum, absolute minimum, we are going to go up, so that's going to be increase. So here we had two increases and two decreases. All right, so now let's label them. All right, so for decrease, the first decrease, we're going to say negative infinity, and we're going to stop at our relative minimum down here of, and we're going to use the x part of it, that's why I circled it, negative 1.321. All right, now again, like I said, if you want to round it, that's fine. But for our purposes here, I'm actually going to leave it as is. All right, then from there, we're going to say increase. So we're going to start at where we left off with, negative 1.321. And then we're going to go to our relative maximum and stop at negative 0.584. Okay. Next, after we get to that relative maximum, we're not going to go back down, so we're going to say decrease again, and we're going to start at our interval right here of negative 0.584, and then we're going to stop at our absolute minimum of 0.405. And then lastly, from this point on, we're going to go increase and say 0.405, comma, positive infinity. So this example here is the most we'll have. We'll have two intervals of increase and two intervals of decrease. That's the most we'll have. Most commonly, we'll have between 3 and 4 intervals. All right, so that's the only difference with quadratics. With quadratics, we just had one maximum, one minimum. And one interval of increase, one interval of decrease. So we're going to continue that same philosophy, except instead of having just two, we're going to have 3 to 4 intervals. Okay, so that's when we have two intervals of increase and one decrease, or two decreases and one increase, or in this case, two decreases and two increases. Now, again, like I told you, the order doesn't matter. If you want to be this should be your first interval, then your second, then your third, then your fourth. That's fine. Let's say you want to switch it up, and if you want to make this your first interval, sorry, I was trying to get to my pen thing. So if you want to make this your first interval, it's your second interval, it's your third, it's your fourth, that's fine. Either way, sorry, I was trying to get back to this. And so if you want to make that your fourth, second, and first, that's fine. The order does not matter, except I just need to have the right interval with decrease and increase. That's the only thing you got to remember. All right, and the order does matter. Like you have to see negative infinity, comma negative 1.32, or negative 1.321, comma negative 0.584. You have to have it in that order, but you could group your intervals together, or you could separate them like I have here. This just makes logical sense to me. So remember I told you guys, as long as you have the right intervals, I'm not going to trip. Well, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.